What is up, guys? Welcome back to another walking on water tutorial from my freaking house. In today's episode, we are gonna talk about the freaking ever elusive summer Chinook salmon up here on Lake Coeur. It's the end of June and I am already itching for the freaking Big One Derby this year, and I want you guys to be successful on the water as well. We all know that these Chinook salmon up here on Lake Coeur are extremely elusive and very hard to catch. So why not better everybody's chances so we can get out there and just see how big of one we can actually catch. So in today's video, I'm gonna go over every setup possible that are gonna help you guys get on one of these big summer Chinook salmon up here on Lake Coeur and possibly even win the Big One Derby. Stay tuned, guys. Let's get right into it. All right, guys, first things first, really quick for you guys, if this video hits 200 likes, I'm gonna give away the Cascade 2 trout rod by Okuma. All we gotta do is hit 200 likes on this video, and I'm gonna select randomly from somebody in the comments who comments down below. So you gotta be subscribed, share out the video to some family members and friends, and let's get this thing to 200 likes, and I'm gonna give away a brand new combination Okuma Cascade 2 trout rod to one of you guys. Let's get right into the freaking video. Let's go catch some Chinook. All right, guys, so first things first, before we even unload the boat off the trailer, before we even get out on the water, or before we even think about loading up our stuff to fish, we need to understand where these Chinook salmon are at in this big, massive body of water. Where are they swimming? What water temperatures are they swimming at? And how do we locate these water temperatures so we can better locate these fish during the summertime? And I'm gonna show you a little tool that I use that helps me get my lures right in front of these fish, because I know these fish are swimming within these certain water temperatures. And so Chinook salmon, first of all, their optimum water temperature range is from 40 degrees Fahrenheit up to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, during the summertime, when you get out there on the water, you're gonna notice that the surface water temperature is above 70 degrees. That should automatically tell you that the top 30 feet of water is never gonna be the place that you're gonna find these fish. But let's get into the tool that I'm gonna use personally, and that I would suggest that maybe you guys use as well, unless you have local knowledge or you already know, or you've already fished these fish and caught these fish during the summertime. But this tool right here will help you get your lures right in front of these big Chinook salmon's face during the summertime on Lake Coeur. So the item and tool that I'm talking about is a small thermometer. It's called the Fishhawk TD. It's the brand Fishhawk, and this thing is super simple, super easy to use. And I'm not sponsored by Fishhawk at all, but I'm definitely promoting this thing because it has helped me not only with Chinook salmon, but kokanee, trout, and so many other different variations and species of fish that I'm just gonna promote it for them no matter what, because freaking I love this product. And so all you literally do, it has a clip right here. All you do is hit start, just like that, and it starts up. You hook it to your downrigger ball or your weight, just like this, and you drop it down, okay? And if I was gonna drop it down in the summertime, I would drop it down roughly to about 80, 90 feet deep, and then I'm gonna pull it back up. And then when I go, after I pull it back up, I just click view, and it's gonna show me the water temperature from the surface every 5 feet in 5 foot increments all the way down. And that is how, with the Fishhawk TD, I am gonna locate where these summer Chinook salmon are going to be in the water system, okay? So having a plan in place and understanding the thermocline of the lake, when the lake splits, where there's a nice pocket of water that these fish are gonna be chilling in and riding that thermocline wave, or they're gonna be below it in the optimum water temperature that I'm talking about. And we're gonna locate that water temperature using this Fishhawk TD right here. Now, if you don't have a Fishhawk TD, I'll give you guys a little bit of local knowledge, and since I've been on the lake a lot this year and in years prior, generally the top 30 to 40 feet is not gonna be where you're really wanting to fish. The water temperature that high is not gonna be optimum water temperature for Chinook salmon, and that's gonna be the little tip I'm gonna give you. So these Chinook like nice cold water. It's super hot, super sunny days in July, and we're fishing the Big One Derby. These fish are gonna be traveling in that deep, dark water. So let's get into talking about flashers and setups and rigs in leader lengths. Let's get right into it. Okay guys, so the next thing that we're gonna go over and talk about is gonna be our setups and the lures that we're gonna wanna be running for these big summer Chinook up here on Lake Coeur. Okay, so my go-to setups are hoochies. Now these variations right here are pretty small, okay? And this one is a little bit bigger. If I had to give any advice on the size of hoochie that I would like to use, it would be roughly around a 4-inch hoochie. And so what I have done, and what I'm gonna talk about now, is the Walking on Water hybrid hoochie, okay? Nice fresh packaging, just like this, has the Walking on Water. This one in particular is called Electric Forest, and this is what I'm gonna be using this year instead of hoochies to target these big summer Chinook on Lake Coeur. Let's open it up and we'll get a look at it, and I'll show you what it's all about. All right guys, so instead of a hoochie this year, I designed a new hoochie setup, which I call the Walking on Water hybrid hoochie, okay? It's just mylar, banded mylar, tied up into a fly, like a fly, but instead of going with a fly, which we're gonna talk about here in a second, I'm gonna be running hybrid hoochies. I love the reflection that the mylar gives. I can make these myself for really cheap. I don't have to go out and buy packs of them. And honestly, I've seen so many different hoochies, and I know hoochies have caught the big one in years prior before. I just feel that there's always little things about each hoochie that I'm using that I would tweak a little bit. And so with these kind of setups, I can make it myself, and the final product is to my liking, and then I fish with it. And so this year, I'm gonna be running the Walking on Water hybrid hoochie, which is just like a hoochie, obviously, just put my own spin on it, okay? So setup number one is a hoochie or a hybrid hoochie, just like this. And I'm gonna show you guys how to rig up all this stuff here in just a second. We're just going through the best possible lures that you should use for these big summer Chinook. Next, we have the Walking on Water trolling fly, okay? It's the Electric Forest one as well. And what this is, instead of it being hoochie-like, which it is, it's just got a different presentation. It pulses a little bit in the water. It actually sits like this until it's in the water. And then once in the water pulls it back, and it gets that motion, and it's got a nice bubbly squid motion as it gets pulled and pulses through the water by your Dodger or your Pro Troll flasher, okay? So, number 3 is the trolling fly. And this one in particular is by myself, Walking on Water. If you guys are interested in any of these flies or hybrid hoochies, just email me at walkingonwaterfishing@gmail.com and we can make it happen. Now, the next go-to setup, which is an all-time favorite for so many freaking people, it's been an all-time favorite for me for spring and summer Chinook up here on Lake Coeur, is the helmeted herring, okay? It's just a helmet down to a non-slip mooching rig, about a 4-inch gap or a 4-finger gap in the mooching rig. If you guys want to learn how to set this up in its entirety, there's going to be a link at the top of the video here. I'm going to post that video. So just click that link once you're done watching, go over to that video, and you guys will learn everything you need to know about helmeted herring. And man, oh man, do these things just freaking absolutely kill Chinook. Now, you guys, Chinook, spring Chinook and summer Chinook on Lake Coeur d'Alene, they're elusive, okay? These fish are not a go out and expect to catch multiples every day. These are a grind type fish up here, and in years prior, it's been really good fishing, and in the last couple of years, it's been good-ish, but a little bit slow. So we're gonna be grinding for sure, but if you guys wanna make sure that you're putting the right baits in front of these fish, then you should definitely be considering some of these baits that I'm showing you here today. But the helmeted herring is definitely a staple up here in the panhandle on Lake Coeur d'Alene, okay? Now, I'm gonna go back through each one of these and we're gonna talk just a little bit about the leader and the leader length and the hook size and stuff like that, so you guys can make sure that you're not using too big of tackle, so it's slowing that hoochie down when it's getting that nice pulse and pull through the water. Let's get right into it. These hooks are extremely overkill for any Chinook salmon, actually. I just use these for video purposes, but this is a double non-slip mooching rig, and I like to put a couple beads up under the head right here of the hoochie and then slide it down so those hooks are sitting, the first hook is sitting right in the tail and the skirt, and then the stinger hook, the bottom hook, is sitting right below. And if I had any hook recommendations for you guys, I would honestly go with a 1/0 hook. You do not need a big hook to catch Chinook salmon. And I actually downsized all my hooks this year when I went down to the Columbia River and spent a lot of time down there this year. And I caught fish and I only missed a couple. I had one day that I lost some fish, and it was a bummer, but I caught fish every freaking day that I was down there, and I cannot complain at all. And honestly, with these hoochies, if you start running too big of hooks, then it's gonna kill that motion in the water because there's so much drag. So don't look at these hooks and say, oh, I need giant hooks. This was for video purposes so you guys could see the non-slip mooching rig. I would honestly go with a 1 or a 2/0 hook. You do not need big hooks, guys. So go out there and find you guys some Big River Bait by Gamakatsu is honestly one of my favorite freaking hooks. Or a mustad. You can't go wrong with any mustad hook. Gamakatsu and mustad are honestly my go-tos. So if you want to learn how to tie this non-slip mooching rig, there's going to be a link to the video up above. All right, guys, let's talk about the flasher options that you guys have and my recommendations for you up here on Lake Coeur and just the different leader lengths that you're going to want to run with each different type of flasher or dodger that you're going to be using. Everybody knows about Pro Troll flashers, and this is an 11-inch Pro Troll flasher with an agitator fin right here, which is just, the agitator fin allows you to troll slower and get the same whipping motion when it does its 360 in the water like this, okay? It allows you to troll slower, and this agitator fin is gonna kick that bait around. Now, when you're running a Pro Troll flasher, we're gonna talk about this one first. We're gonna talk about the leader length for each one of these lures if you were gonna run it behind a Pro Troll flasher just like this, okay? So the first one we're gonna talk about is the helmeted herring, okay? Now, if you're gonna run a bait, this is simulating feeding, okay? In my mind, this is an attractant, this is stimulating the fish. There's an E-chip in here, and it's alerting that fish and saying, hey, something's going on over here, there's possible food over here, and then you're gonna be dragging this bait behind it, and obviously, in my mind, that's how I portray it in my mind, that these fish are instinctively drawn to this, so they bite it, okay? Let's talk about the leader length that you're gonna wanna run for a helmeted herring behind an 11-inch Pro Troll flasher. Now, you do not want it super short, okay? A short leader behind a Pro Troll is really gonna whip that fish, and these do cause a lot of disturbance in the water. So you don't want that fish to have to come up there and bite the actual flasher itself when you're fishing for these summer Chinook on Lake Coeur d'Alene. What you're gonna want is to run a long leader about 40 to 50 inches, all the way up to even 60 sometimes, to catch these summer Chinook behind an 11-inch Pro Troll flasher if you're using a helmeted herring. So if you need to, write that down, 40 to 60 inches with a helmeted herring behind an 11-inch Pro Troll flasher, okay? All right, guys, so if you're gonna run a hoochie or a walking on water hybrid hoochie just like this, what is your leader length gonna look like, and why does it need to be that length? You're gonna want your leader length anywhere from 30 to 40 inches. Now, why does it need to be in between 30 to 40 inches? Because this does not have any action like the helmeted herring does. The helmet provides a spin for the fish in the water. That's what's attracting those fish, okay? That's why you want a longer leader, because not only does the flasher have action, but the lure you're using also has an action. So you don't want those actions competing with one another. That's why you run a longer leader. But since the hoochie or the hybrid hoochie doesn't have an action, you're gonna wanna run about a 30 to 40 inch leader. And why is that? Because when this thing's getting pulled through the water, you want it to have a pulsing motion, okay? So it's going around a little bit, but it's moving forward because you're trolling forward, okay? So it's spinning and pulling, imitating a squid-like action, which instinctually for a Chinook, even though it's a landlocked Chinook, they're still a Chinook. They have those instincts in their head, and it really triggers that bite instinct, and it makes them want to hit that lure. So if you're running a hoochie or a walking on water hybrid hoochie just like this, you're gonna want about a 30 to 40 inch leader behind an 11 inch Pro Troll flasher. There's different variations of flashers that we can use. Now that we've talked about leader length for my two setups, that I'm literally only gonna run these two setups, guys. I'm not gonna mess around with Brad's cut plugs. I'm not gonna mess around with freaking wiggle hoochies, nothing like that. We're sticking to the basics here for these summer Chinook on Lake Coeur. Now, obviously there's different colors of flashers. I rigged this one up with a little bit of moon jelly. It's the exact same thing. It's got the agitator fin and the E-chip. And this one is obviously and always a go-to chrome flasher, exactly the same with the agitator fin and the E-chip, okay? Now, there's different variations of flashers that you guys, if you don't know, need to understand. This is also an 11 inch Pro Troll flasher, but if you notice, it does not have the agitator fin. Now, with the 11 inch flasher with no agitator fin, all the same leader lengths that we just talked about apply to this, okay? But the only difference between this flasher and this flasher with the agitator fin, this flasher you control between 1.5 up to 2 miles an hour. I mean, you can troll it faster, but there's really absolutely no reason to ever troll it faster than, honestly, in my opinion, 1.9. So from 1.5 to 1.9 with the agitator fin is realistically the home run ballpark range that you want to be in. But if you're running one with no agitator fin, like this one, see how it's just flush? It's got the E-chip, but no agitator. This is a 2 mile an hour to 2.2 mile an hour flasher. So you need to understand that. If you're running these without an agitator fin, you need to be trolling 2 miles to 2.2 miles an hour to even get right representation for this Pro Troll flasher, okay? So understanding the 11 inch flasher is very important. If I had any recommendations to you, I would scrub the flush Pro Troll flashers, and I would definitely go with the agitators. I just think for the presentation in the water and understanding how salmon work and so on and so forth, that a 1.5 to 1.9 mile an hour troll is a lot more realistic in my mind than a 2 to 2.2, especially when the water temperatures on the surface are extremely high. Yeah, these fish are hanging out down there in the cold water, but it's still warm out, and it still does mess with their senses a little bit and make them a little bit more sluggish and stuff like that. So a slower troll speed for Chinook salmon has always been a go-to on the Columbia, in the bay, and frickin' down at Buoy 10 and stuff like that. And so I would honestly just stick with the 1.5 to 1.9 troll speeds. So the agitator fin is honestly my personal favorite. I know people have definitely caught fish on the non-agitator fin, so I'm not saying don't use it. Stick with your guns if that's your go-to, and I respect the heck out of that. So let's talk about the smaller flashers and dodgers that you can use as well, and the leader lengths that are required to make sure that you're fishing properly for these big summer kings. All right, guys, so this is an 8-inch flasher, and it has a double agitator fin. And this is a 1.5 to 1.9 mile an hour troll speed as well. It has the agitator fins on it, so you do not need to troll that fast. Personally, not my favorite flasher to use, but they do use them up here on Lake Coeur to catch these big summer Chinook salmon. And if you're talking leader lengths, if you're gonna run a walking on water hybrid hoochie like this, or a standard hoochie, you're only gonna want about a 20 to 30 inch leader sitting behind this small flasher, because you really want that hoochie to get that pulsing motion as this thing spins, okay? And we're not even gonna talk about helmeted herring for the 8-inch flashers, because personally, I would not run that combination on Lake Coeur d'Alene. But if you do decide to run an 8-inch, then you do only want a 20 to about a 30-inch leader for a hoochie or a hybrid hoochie or your wiggle hoochie, whatever type of bait you're running behind it. You do not want it very far back because it is a shorter flasher. People do run these. I don't personally run them. I have tried them before. I do like sticking with the bigger 11-inch flashers. Now, we're gonna go into the Dodger, and I like Dodgers, but I'm a huge fan of the 11-inch flashers, like I keep saying. I'm beating the dead horse, I know, but The Dodger, okay? What are the leader lengths that we're gonna run with a Dodger? Now the Dodger has a very simple motion. You put it in the water, you can give it a little tweak like that. You can make it go back and forth faster. You can flatten it out a little bit to get that nice, slower, wider thump. But the Dodger is a very good, in my opinion, spring Chinook setup up here on Lake Coeur. I have not had any success in the summer with the Dodger itself, but people do run them, and it never hurts to have more tools in your tool belt. There's gonna be tons of people out there running 11-inch flashers all freaking day. Maybe the Chinook hasn't seen a Dodger yet, and once it does, it triggers that instinctual bite, and it goes up and it crushes your lure, and you catch the big one. Who knows? So always have more tools in your tool belt so you guys can catch fish. Let's talk about the leader lengths for this Dodger right here. All right, guys, on the Dodger for leader lengths, since it doesn't do a 360 in the water, we're obviously gonna have to shorten things up a little bit because the action just isn't as much as there is with one of these big 11-inch Pro Trolls. So the movement back and forth like this will give a hoochie a nice motion as well as a helmeted herring, so we're gonna talk about that. So 18 to 24 inches is gonna be the sweet spot. This thing's gonna rock back and forth going about 1.5 to 1.9 miles an hour. If you're going a little faster, you know you're going way too fast. If it's doing a 360 in the water like this, you don't want that. Excuse me. So an 18 to 24 inch leader if you're gonna run a walking on water hybrid hoochie, or you're just gonna run a standard hoochie, okay? So 18 to 24 inches on that. Now, if we're gonna talk helmeted herring behind a Dodger, which has always been an amazing go-to for me in the spring and honestly early summer, so I don't see why it wouldn't just absolutely crush the fish, especially if you get them right in front of their face with one of those Fish Hawk TDs, or just right in front of your face because you know exactly what depth that perfect water temperature is at. But a 45 to 50 inch leader is gonna be a requirement for the Dodger that we have here in front of us today to run that helmeted herring behind, okay? So 45 to 50 inches is gonna be that sweet spot. It's gonna get that nice motion back and forth, and as you're moving forward, the herring is spinning and getting that nice freaking thump just like that as it's spinning through the water, and that's what makes these Dodgers so effective. It thumps the water, it's got a nice flash to it, and it honestly does pair super well with the helmeted herring. So make sure you guys have that ready to rock if you need to, because like I said, there's gonna be a million Pro Trolls out there. The Dodger could win the big one. Okay, and we're gonna leave that one the whole entire time throughout the whole entire Big One Derby. We're never gonna adjust it once. But on my other rod, I'm gonna be using an Okuma cold water line counter reel so I can understand my depth, and I can hit up my depth chart, and I can get my baits down in front of the Chinook salmon on Lake Coeur. So how am I gonna do that? I'm gonna be running a 6-ounce cannonball just like this, and I'm gonna go through my setup. So if you don't have a downrigger, you guys can better understand how to target these fish without a downrigger on Lake Coeur d'Alene during the summer. So if you don't have a boat with downriggers, don't worry, you can still catch the big one, win that money, and go buy yourself some. So check this out. Okay, 6 ounces of lead, okay? Cannonball, doesn't matter if it's cannonball or not, but I am gonna have some recommendations, okay? So this is my main line that's going to my rod right here, okay? And now, what is this and why is this so important, okay? This is a weight slider. It's called a VIP line lock by VIP Outdoors, okay? And what it does is, when you are trolling through the water, your weight goes on here just like this, okay? Your weight's right there, this is your main line. You always use a bead chain to go down to your Pro Troll flashers because they do a 360. And why is this line lock important versus a regular slider? If you can see here, right here, there's a little slit right there on top. And this bead chain has the loop right at the end. When you're trolling forward, it locks that top of that bead chain right into that VIP line lock, and so your line does not get twisted. If you've ever fished flashers at all with braided line or any kind of line, you understand that line twist is absolutely guaranteed to happen, and VIP Outdoors with the VIP line lock has frickin' solved that problem. So I will never use anything else, and again, I'm not frickin' sponsored by them at all. I just love their products, and I'm not afraid to say it, so definitely pick you guys up some frickin' VIP line locks, okay? Now, for the Pro Troll flashers running an inline setup, I always run a 24-inch bumper in between my main line and my frickin' 11-inch Pro Troll flasher. Why do I run a 24-inch bumper, you ask? Okay, so let's hook this up. Just demonstration purposes, okay? 24-inch bumper, just like this, okay? You got your weight, and then you got your bumper down here, okay? Now, let's say the bumper is only this long, right? And your weight's sitting right here. This thing is trolling and doing this motion, but it's cutting the motion off, right? So if you only have a 6-inch bumper, you're running no bumper at all right to the front of your weight, it is killing the motion of your Pro Troll flasher. 24-inch bumper allows or provides enough space for this 11-inch Pro Troll flasher to fully rotate in the water, okay? And so that is why over the years, I have dialed it in to a 24-inch bumper for every water system that I'm gonna run an inline weight in a Pro Troll or short bus flasher. I should say short bus, but a 24-inch bumper is definitely a requirement for me, and this is exactly how we're gonna target summer Chinook on Lake Coeur without a downrigger, okay? You just hook the VIP line lock on your line, run it down to your bead chain, attach your bumper like so, and then hook up your hoochie, just like that. And this is exactly how we are gonna target these Chinook salmon up here in Lake Coeur. Thank you frickin' so much for tuning into this episode of Walking on Water. In today's video, we went over absolutely everything you guys are gonna need to know to catch Chinook salmon on Lake Coeur during the summertime. I can't wait for the Big One Derby. I can't wait to see you guys out there. I hope some of this information helped you in any way. Good luck to you all. I can't wait to be out there fishing side by side with you. Let's go catch the big one on Lake Coeur this year. See you in the next one.